I'm Bronwyn Bulwer, and I'm here with Chris and Ashton talking about their journey with IT Heavy Hitters. Thanks so much for coming to chat with us today.
No worries.
I'd love to know, to start with, can you remember the moment when you decided to sign up for IT Heavy Hitters, Ashton?
Yeah, it was actually quite fitting, really. Last year was pretty heavy, so I had 4 people I knew that passed away from a mental illness, and one was actually 3 weeks before I saw Dan Hooker's post on Instagram, and he was holding his little baby and saying it's all for a great cause and what it was for. And I've never been a fighter, never had a fist fight or anything in my life, and saw that, and I actually messaged him personally and I said, look, I'm keen to make a difference, keen to spread awareness. I don't know how to do it, but this could be a good revenue to go. I said I've had no boxing career, been to a weights gym before and walked in and walked out straight away because I don't like the persona and the way you get looked at inside a gym. And he said he was real nice about it. He was real humble and just said, look, that's what we're looking for. We don't want anyone that's had a fight before or been in a fight before. We want someone sort of, fresh. And he goes, and I just said it's something pretty close to home, and he said, well, that's what we're looking for. So yeah, when he put it on his Instagram, I don't know exactly the time and the day, but I was sitting on the couch with my partner and just said, I'm going to do it. And she was comforting and backed me 100%.
Really?
So yeah, on the day, and I jumped online, sent away the form, or filled it in, sent it away, and got a reply, and that was it.
You're in.
I was in, yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until they confirmed when the day was that we all got together in the gym and got selected. But yeah, it was good. That was the time that I signed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, signed my life away.
And you, Chris?
Mine was very similar. I saw Dan's post, and from that I saw what he was supporting, and it being Mike King's charity. I'd seen him do his thing, talking to farmers in rural Taranaki a few years ago, and kind of from there I'd been following what he'd been doing, and to be able to support that in any way, that was my reasoning for signing up. And I'd always wanted to jump in the ring, just one of those bucket list things, really. And the other side of things, I'm a sports reporter, and I report a lot on the combat sports, and just to get a different sort of knowledge of them and exactly how tough it is going into them, that was sort of the other side of things for me, and I learned very quickly that it's a lot harder than it looks.
From the outside, it's hard to imagine why you would put yourself through that grueling training and then get in a ring in front of hundreds of people and possibly get hurt. And how did you find it then, being on the other side of the story, really?
Well, before I signed up, I had to check with the wife, and part of me was hoping she said, no, don't do it.
That's your excuse.
But when she said yes, I was like, oh shit, I got no excuse for this now. I remember the first team selection, I was pretty uncomfortable after that, we'll say that much. I thought I was a lot fitter than I was.
Oh, really?
Very early on in the training, I was outside gasping for air. So I wasn't even thinking about getting punched at that point. It was just get through today. And that's kind of just how I went into each thing, just see what's happening today and take it one session at a time, and when it comes to getting punched, worry about it then.
And what's it like to be punched?
I feel like it's different for everyone, but I kind of find it surprisingly fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there were some days in the gym where I was just feeling shit, and so I'd just go into sparring and become a punching bag, really. It just,
cathartic, maybe?
Yeah, something like that, just put my wall up and let people hack away.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's surprising, eh?
Yeah.
And for you, Ashton, what was it like getting in through the training and then getting into the ring?
Yeah, it was a lot different than what I thought. So yeah, being someone that's never stepped foot in a gym, never had a fight or anything like that, I started running actually as soon as I got the all clear, and I was like, definitely not fit enough, because I love my sweets, love my chocolate, love my cake, and I got to went to Combat Academy for our selection day, and the burpees were fun, punching the bag was fun, and then they made us get on a bike, and that bike at the end was what killed me.
Really?
2 minutes, I think it was, or a minute of just pure sprinting on a bike.
Wow.
And that's when,
Intense.
the same as Chris, I was not in the shape I thought I was in. And then, but why I was doing it was what made me get through it really. And then, yeah, the next 14 weeks from there I was just thinking, yeah, it's all fitness. It was all fitness. And then you're like, oh, you got to get your headgear, you got to get your mouth guard, got to get this, got to get that. Got it. And it wasn't till day one when sparring started that you sort of think, and you start second guessing yourself. Are you really fit for this? Do you really want to be doing this? But it was always those things in the back of your mind saying, this is why you're doing it. So for me, same in Chris, sometimes I had some days where I really just felt like shit, like I felt pretty crap. And nothing was flowing, it felt awkward. So I literally just let them punch me. But for them it was good, it was helping them. And at the same time it probably helped me, made me put my guard up, and that was for sure. But then, yeah, from there through it got easier. I actually had 3 weeks off, I was crook. And then had a wedding as well, got married halfway through sparring, so he wasn't allowed to get a blood nose or a swollen eye or a black eye. But then, yeah, getting closer and closer to the fight, to walking in and getting there, it wasn't as easy as what you'd think it would be.
Yeah.
It looks easy from the outside, but then when you put through that 14 weeks, or when you put through a camp or something like that, it's a lot harder than what you'd think. Yeah, but mentally, emotionally, and physically, it was probably the best thing I've done in my life.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I wouldn't change anything about it.
Was there ever a moment that you can remember that you wanted to give up, and you obviously didn't? What got you through it?
Yeah, well, actually, when I was sick, when I came back, when I was sick, I thought I've just fallen behind, you know. And it was sparring, and then we did a session at the end. I don't know who I was working with, but there was a guy, Anton, there. He was pretty uplifting. No, there was times I felt like giving up, but I thought about the times where I was on top of a fence. I either wanted to die or I wanted to be alive. And it was that time in the gym when I felt like that, I just thought to them, I've got so much to fight for. I've got people aren't here with us today, and the emotions I went through to get there, the feelings. I guess what we call it today, the mental illness. Yeah, it was a struggle. There's times that I just thought, I'm not fit for this, I'm not going to make it. And but there's guys in that blue team in that gym, they pulled me through. And the powerful mind that we all have sort of helped me get through as well. So, no, yeah, there's definitely some times that I thought it was going to be a huge struggle. But nah, pulled through in the end, and it was good. It was good.
And now looking back on those moments, how do you feel going forward that you pushed through that? And
oh, like some of these tears are happy tears, and like some of these emotions are happy, and yeah, I definitely feel a lot better that I pushed forward. I feel 10 times stronger mentally and emotionally that I made it through that. Like the fight is just literally the icing on the cake. The fight isn't. The fight was the fight to me at the end of the day, but the 14 weeks and the reasonings behind it were what made me stronger. And so now that I've done it, and I did that challenge, and we fundraised and did a lot for it, I definitely feel better now. Yeah.
And Chris, did you ever want to give up?
Nah, that never crossed my mind, because I told so many people I was doing this.
That'll do it.
If I pulled out, I was never going to hear the end of it. Obviously, we had those days where you come in and you're not feeling it, you don't want to be there, but there was always someone around who would just remind you why you're doing it. You know, the 668 people who killed themselves last year, like, there was always that message every single time we stepped foot in the gym. And some people, shout outs to Mana, would get behind literally everyone. Like, they would become our cheerleaders, our big motivators. Like, if you were ever down, you just go chat to them, and yeah, they get you back up pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Was there anything that you learnt about yourself through the journey that you didn't know before?
Nah, not really. Not really.
What would your wife say?
Oh, yeah, well, there were, once we started body sparring, I came home with massive bruises on my hips, and I showed them to her, and yeah, she didn't say anything. She just shook her head, and that was that. Yeah. I think a few people were impressed that I actually got in the ring and did it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I kind of figured you sign up for it, you got to do it.
Got to follow through. Yeah. And you, Ashton, was there anything that surprised you? Or
He surprised me. He definitely surprised me. I didn't think I'd be going in there and walking out with a family. That surprised me massively, especially for the blue team. Even guys out of the red team that I met along the way. Yeah, those guys were awesome, making new friends. You think you're signing up for a boxing match, you ain't going to be making friends, but you don't. You end up making I ended up making a family. What surprised me as well was just, people always say to you, like if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Never say never, you can do it. And you're sort of like, well, you can't really say that. There's always going to be something in the way, but things were in the way when we were doing this, and we did it, and I did it, and what surprised me was me getting through and doing it. Going back to Chris, being a guy that's a lot. When he surprised me when I was Chris, I get announced, you're fighting Christopher Reive. Oh, yeah, sweet. Never seen his face before. Don't know anything about the guy. Then find out he's another 200 mil taller than me. Got a bigger reach than me. Loving sports and boxing and MMA. Yeah, when someone announces a fight, that's the sort of things you look forward to work around.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was a big surprise.
Yeah.
But we were all in there for the same reason. So at the end of the day, you sort of stop thinking about the fight and try to think about the other things. But that's still in the back of your mind. So yeah.
I think that's what moved me the most on the night of the fight, because I wasn't keen to watch my brother be in a fight. And I thought it was just about the boxing. And I couldn't stop thinking the days afterwards how the teams just were so strong, and they formed such a family around each other, and everyone has said that. And it really got me thinking, how do we do that in life? Because everybody in the team was so different, and they had such different stories, but they felt so supported. And from going through that experience, how do you take that into your real life?
Like, a lot of people have got something to learn from a 14-week thing like this. Like, for me, taking it to my real life, it's a big mental shift. It makes you think about your everyday life a lot differently. Well, for me, it did. When you first meet someone, you sort of, these days and age, I don't generally do it all the time, but when you first meet someone, they leave an impression on you. When you first meet someone, you judge them. It's generally what happens. Meeting all these people that are from a different country, different religions, different races, and we all became a family. And that's when I mean people can learn from it. We literally all became a family, and yeah, for me it was just. It didn't matter what these people looked like, where they came from, what their religion were. For me, it just mentally changed the way I thought about people and the way I thought about what other people should be doing and thinking and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Chris, for you, how was your experience with your team?
Very similar. Like, it's just human nature to take people at surface level when you first meet them. So, I mean, for first training, you show up, you kind of talk to a couple of people because you have to work with them, and then the further you get along, the more people you get to know, and the deeper you get to know them, and all of a sudden, like Ashton was saying, it's more of a family bond than anything else. And times you show up because you want to help them get better as well as yourself.
Yeah.
So definitely that aspect to it.
Yeah. In bringing depression into the conversation and calling it what it is, you've touched on it, and I know it must have been harrowing for you last year. What do you take from so many people around you having gone through that? What do we do to change this, even in our own circles?
It's hard, really, but the biggest thing is talking. And like people say, oh, it must be easy to talk, but it's when you're, like I suffer from anxiety and depression, I have for years. When you're in that dark spot or in that hole, and all you want to do is reach out, and you do want to talk, you don't actually realize until you're in it how hard it is to get out of it, and how hard it is to talk. Like for me, there was times I was more scared to be alive than I was dead.
Right.
That's what I mean. I try to talk to my mates. I talk to my mates all the time, but you try to say to them, look, it took everything. Like this boxing was nothing compared to what it was when I had to try to talk to someone. But that's what you got to do. You really got to try and get people to talk. And when I mean talk, it can always be, oh, hey, how's it going? And are you okay? Yeah, you got to ask them, are they okay? But if there is something wrong, it's really just getting them over that line, really opening them up and really trying to make them feel better. I think of it as like a bottle of water, like their bottle is just filling and filling and filling and filling, and sometimes it gets so full it just overflows, it gets too much. And the more you talk, it's like you're emptying your bottle, the more you talk, it's less weight on your shoulders. You're putting some of your water into someone, or more of your liquid, or more of your worries, not onto someone or onto someone else's bottle, but you're just emptying yours, But getting someone to talk to the point where it's helping them is at one point. And for me, I don't know, it took me, I don't like everything. It took me, and it wasn't to my friends, it was to my mum. It took me my everything. Like I said, some points I was more afraid to be alive than dead, but I talked, and when I did, it was probably the biggest and hardest thing I've done in my life. And so that's it. I reckon it is talking, but it's a deep talk and it's a hard talk, but it's just what you got to do. But you got to just keep doing it with your friends. You got to start somewhere and asking them if they're okay, and ask them if everything's all good. That's good. That's what you want to do, because it makes that's the first step. That's the first step of making it easier in your group and with your friends or your family. But yeah, really getting someone to talk is what you really want to do.
Making it the new normal.
Yeah, really making it normal. Like a lot of people these days I don't know, there's not these days, it's getting better. It's getting a lot better these days actually, but before it was harden up and don't be so soft, get up, get out of your room and go outside and play in the sun.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Go kick a ball.
Yeah, go kick a ball, go play rugby, go play on the motorway, as a young kid.
Yeah.
It was a bit of fun, it used to be like that, but these days it's sort of, you got to ask someone if they're okay, why aren't you out there? Could be reasonings why they're not out there, or the reasons why they can't do this, the reason why they can't do that. And it's, big thing is just asking someone, are you okay? And if they go, yeah, and it's not a solid answer, dig, because you need to sort of dig down to their level, down to that hole that they're stuck in, and dig that ramp for them to get back out, so.
And you might be the only person who asks.
Yeah, like for me now I've got a few people that I talk to about it. Like I openly talk about mental health with mates, but if I've got a real issue, I talk to my partner, my wife, my mum, and I've got a few real close friends, and my boss. Whereas before, you wouldn't be talking to all those people about it, But yeah, no, you just gotta talk and help those people out.
When you spoke to your mum, was she surprised, or did she know what was going on with you?
I actually didn't even live at home when I told her. I've been living at a home since I was 15. I left school when I was 15. Wasn't even really legal then. You had to get parents sign off. But I went home and told my mum, I'm going to stay here for a couple of, maybe tonight. I feel sick. I'm not feeling well, so, go back to my mum to look after me. She's your mum.
Yeah.
They're your parents, you want them to look after you. She knew something was wrong, but I don't think she knew exactly what was wrong. And she asks me every day if I'm okay. She did then too. But like I said, trying to tell someone what you're going through isn't as easy as just saying, no, I'm not okay. It is once you start talking about it, but the first off, it takes a lot. I sat at home for 4 days in a pitch black room. And I finally came out and said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but something is wrong with me. And she was a brave lady. She just grabbed me and said that everything will be all good and we'll get it sorted. But I don't think she knew what I was going to tell her or what I said to her was going to be, I don't know, something like that. And I guess being a parent, I wouldn't know, but that's the last thing you expect to hear from a 21-year-old man, 20-year-old man, is that they don't want to be alive and they're not mentally right. So, yeah.
But as a mum, you want to hear it. If
As a
they're
mum,
feeling that way,
as a mum, you'd want to hear it.
So glad that they told you. So that's why it's so important
if
to
I was
talk
a
about
father,
it.
or if I was a father or a mother, I'd want to hear it and I'd want to help them and I'd want them to be okay. So, we went to the local GP and stuff like that, and yeah, got some counselling and stuff. So there was help. I did get help, but it was those 4 grueling nights and grueling days of sitting in a dark room that, that's why I told my mum that if something wasn't right. So, no, she was good. She was good. She was not only my wife now, but then she was my rock. She brought me up, and she was my ladder that got me out of that hole to start with. So, yeah.
It's so important that, eh?
Yep, it is. It's very important.
I forgot what the question was.
Sorry.
It's so real. That's exactly why we want to do this, is to have these conversations and really talk about the reality of it. I think the question was, how has mental health and depression touched your life? Has it touched your life in any way, and how have you dealt with it?
So, I'm quite lucky in the fact I haven't really had the experiences Ashton has with losing people close to him because of mental illness. Like most people, I know a lot of people out there suffering from mental illness. Myself, I was a bit the same as Ashton. I've been living with anxiety for years, and it kind of came to a point when I started working that, I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was pretty much living off coffee. So as my day went on, I'd always have a cup of coffee on my desk, and that's what I'd live off. And I got to a point where I was just like, this is a little bit stupid. So I made an appointment with the GP and sat down and talked to them, because my wife, now girlfriend at the time, she knew that I was struggling with these things, but outside of her, I didn't really feel comfortable talking to anyone close to me about it. So for me, it was just, I can go to the GP. I know they have to listen to me and they can't tell anyone about it. And after that, I kind of told my family what was happening, and I got prescribed some pills that I've been taking for about 3 years now, and life's a hell of a lot better for it.
Yeah. It takes that courage though, hey, in the beginning.
Yeah, I know a lot of people might not feel comfortable talking to people, and that's where, you have to take that step to go see the doctor. They might not be able to help, but they'll listen.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important what you said, because if you feel like you can't go to your family or someone who knows you, to go to a stranger or someone who won't tell if that's what you're worried about, was a really good thing to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's worked pretty well for me, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for being so real and so raw and honest about your experiences. I know that it will touch people out there who are feeling the same, and they might take inspiration and courage from your stories. So I really thank you both.
All good.
No worries. Thank you.
And thank you to the sponsors and the team and everyone who made today possible.